I was sitting in the living room, holding a cup of tea, when my son-in-law walked in and turned off the TV. "Go to your room, old woman," he said coldly. "This living room is mine now." For a moment, I thought I hadn't heard him correctly. I slowly looked toward my daughter. She was standing near the kitchen door, her eyes lowered, pretending to adjust a grocery bag. She didn't say a single word. That silence broke something inside me. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a deep, painful clarity. I stood up quietly, placed the cup back on the table, picked up my keys, and walked out of the house without saying anything. That was the day my life changed forever. For 15 years after my husband died, this house had been my entire world. Every corner held memories. The sofa where he used to read his newspaper. The kitchen where we argued over too much salt. The small garden where he planted roses for me. After he passed, I stayed strong. I worked. I saved. I managed everything alone. This house became my security, my comfort, my peace. Then my daughter married. At first, she and her husband came to stay for a few months. Those few months turned into 4 years. I cooked. I cleaned. I paid the bills. I stayed silent. Because mothers are taught to sacrifice. And women of my generation are taught to endure. But slowly, my home stopped feeling like mine. My son-in-law controlled everything: the TV, the kitchen, even the silence. My daughter slowly disappeared into obedience. And I became invisible. Until that evening. The slam of the remote echoed louder than a slap. "Go to your room," he repeated, as if speaking to a servant, not his wife's mother. I waited for my daughter to speak. Just one sentence. "Don't talk to my mother like that." But she said nothing. And in that moment, I understood. This was no longer my home. I walked into my bedroom, opened the drawer, and pulled out a blue folder. Inside were the papers that proved something very important. This house was legally mine. My name. My signature. My ownership. For years, I had protected them, never thinking I would need to use them against my own family. But respect had already left. And when respect leaves, boundaries must enter. I locked the door behind me and stepped into the night. The air felt different, lighter. I took a taxi to a nearby hotel and booked a room. Then I made one phone call. To my old colleague, now a property lawyer. "I need eviction papers prepared," I said calmly. There was a pause on the other end. "Against whom?" he asked. "My daughter and son-in-law." Another silence. Then, softly, "I understand. I'll send my associate tomorrow morning." That night, I slept better than I had in years. Not because I was heartless. But because for the first time, I chose myself. The next morning, while my daughter and her husband were probably having breakfast in my kitchen, a man in a crisp suit rang the doorbell. He handed them a legal notice. 30 days. 30 days to leave my house. My phone started vibrating endlessly. Calls. Messages. Missed calls. I didn't answer. Because this time, silence was my power. Later that day, my daughter came running to the hotel. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. "Mom, what is happening? Why did you do this?" "He's furious. We're embarrassed. People are talking." I looked at her calmly. "I was embarrassed when he threw me out of my own living room. You stayed silent then. Now it's my turn to speak." She lowered her head. "He says if we lose this house, our marriage will break." I sighed softly. "If your marriage depends on my house, then it's already broken." She started crying. And I felt something shift. For the first time, she was seeing reality. That evening, I cut off the internet, cable TV, and extra bank cards, all of which I had been paying for. Not out of revenge, but to restore balance. For 4 years, they lived comfortably. Now, they would learn responsibility. That night, sitting alone in a peaceful hotel room, I whispered to myself, I am not cruel. I am just done being invisible. And this was only the beginning. When the legal notice arrived, it didn't just land on the table, it exploded inside their lives. My daughter called me at least 20 times that morning. I ignored every call. Not because I didn't love her, but because for years, my love had only taught her one thing, that I would always forgive, always sacrifice, always stay silent. This time, I wanted her to learn something different. By noon, she showed up at my hotel room. Her face was pale. Her eyes swollen from crying. Her hair loosely tied, as if she had rushed out without thinking. Mom, she whispered, stepping inside. Please tell me this is a misunderstanding. I poured her a glass of water and gestured for her to sit. There is no misunderstanding, I said calmly. You and your husband have 30 days. Her lips trembled. He says we're being humiliated. People are already talking. His family is furious. They're blaming me. And what about me? I asked softly. Was I not humiliated in my own house? She looked down. He didn't mean it like that. He turned off the TV, ordered me to leave the living room, and you said nothing. Silence filled the room. She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. Because deep down, she knew. That evening, my lawyer called. They're panicking, he said. Your son-in-law is demanding negotiations. Let him panic, I replied. I panicked silently for 4 years. Back at my house, chaos had taken over. My son-in-law, Farhan, was raging. He slammed doors, shouted at my daughter, cursed under his breath. How dare she do this, he yelled. This is my house now. Everyone knows that. But legally, it's not, my daughter whispered. His face twisted. So you're taking her side? I'm just saying. Enough, he roared. Fix this. But there was nothing she could fix. For the first time, his authority meant nothing. The next day, he came to see me. Unannounced. Uninvited. He stood stiffly in the hotel lobby, his expensive suit wrinkled, his pride clearly wounded. I want to talk, he said curtly. I looked at him calmly. Sit. He hesitated, then obeyed. I think we both overreacted, he began. Families adjust. Mistakes happen. I almost laughed. Mistakes are accidental, I said. Your disrespect was deliberate. He clenched his jaw. You're destroying your own daughter's marriage. No, I corrected gently. I'm revealing the foundation of it. He leaned forward. What do you want? There it was. Not apology. Not remorse. Only negotiation. I want my home back, I said. And I want respect. He scoffed. You expect us to rent? You know I have expenses. I know I supported your expenses for 4 years. His eyes widened slightly. You kept silent while I paid your bills, bought groceries, funded vacations, and covered your debts. You confused kindness for weakness. He stood up abruptly. You're a selfish old woman. I smiled softly. I'm a free one. That night, something shifted inside me. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt powerful. Not because I was punishing them, but because I was finally protecting myself. Over the next few days, my daughter's visits became frequent. Each time, her voice softer, her eyes more thoughtful. She was beginning to see the truth. The control. The manipulation. The emotional abuse. One evening, she sat beside me and whispered, I think I married the wrong man. I squeezed her hand. No, I said gently. You married before you knew your own worth. Meanwhile, Farhan tried different tactics. Threats. Emotional blackmail. Fake apologies. When none worked, he tried fear. You will die alone, he said during a heated phone call. Your daughter will abandon you. I laughed. I have lived alone before. I can do it again. That confidence shook him more than anger ever could. Then came the final blow. My lawyer discovered something. The reason Farhan had insisted on living in my house. The reason he had controlled finances. The reason he had discouraged my daughter from working. He was drowning in debt. Massive debt. Hidden loans. Failed business ventures. Credit card traps. He had been using my home as his safety net. And now, that net was disappearing. When I confronted him, his face turned pale. You searched my finances, he snapped. No, I said. Your creditors did. He froze. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not anger. Not pride. Fear. Within weeks, their marriage began to crack. Arguments became louder. Silence became colder. My daughter started questioning everything. And for the first time, she began seeing me not just as her mother, but as a woman. A woman who had survived. A woman who had endured. A woman who finally chose herself. One night, she whispered something that broke my heart and healed it at the same time. Mom. I think I stayed silent because I learned it from you. Tears filled my eyes. I know, I said. And that's why I had to change. As the eviction deadline approached, the tension reached its peak. And something big was about to happen. Something that would permanently reshape all our lives. The final week before the eviction deadline arrived like a silent storm. The air felt heavy. The phone rang constantly. Messages flooded in from relatives, neighbors, and so-called well-wishers. Some begged me to forgive. Some accused me of cruelty. Some reminded me of tradition. But no one asked how I felt. Not for once. Except my daughter. She arrived at my hotel late one evening, her face pale, her movements slow, her shoulders sagging under invisible weight. Mom, she whispered, collapsing onto the chair. I think something is terribly wrong. I already knew. But I waited. He hasn't been sleeping, she continued. Creditors keep calling. Strangers come to the door asking for him. He gets angry over nothing. I searched his emails. Her voice cracked. There are loans everywhere. Huge amounts. I had no idea. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I handed her a tissue. This is why he needed my house, I said gently. Her breath hitched. So he married me for security. No, I said softly. But he stayed because of it. That truth hit her harder than betrayal. Because betrayal can be hated. But realization must be accepted. That night, the argument between them exploded. Walls shook. Doors slammed. Voices echoed down the hallway. Farhan shouted. You invaded my privacy. She screamed back. You invaded my life. Years of suppressed fear, confusion, and helplessness poured out in one violent storm. By morning, she packed a small bag. And walked out. She came straight to me. When I opened the door and saw her standing there broken, shaking, defeated, something inside me shattered and healed at the same time. I don't know who I married, she sobbed. I pulled her into my arms. You married someone who hid his weaknesses behind control, I whispered. We cried together. Not just as mother and daughter. But as two women learning to survive. Farhan didn't take her departure quietly. He arrived at my hotel furious, demanding answers. You turned her against me. No, I replied calmly. Your lies did. She is my wife. And she is my daughter. Our eyes locked. For the first time, there was no fear between us. Only truth. The next days were chaos. Relatives interfered. Friends took sides. Gossip spread like wildfire. Some said I destroyed my daughter's home. Some said I was heartless. But I had learned something powerful. You cannot protect others by destroying yourself. My daughter stayed with me. Slowly, she began remembering who she was before fear shaped her. She talked about her dreams. Her unfinished degree. Her desire to work. And for the first time, she believed she deserved a life beyond endurance. Meanwhile, Farhan's world collapsed. Creditors froze his accounts. His car was seized. His business partner disappeared. He had nothing left but ego. And ego alone cannot survive reality. One night, my daughter whispered, "What if he hurts himself?" I sighed. He chose his path. We can't bleed to heal someone who refuses to change. 2 days before the eviction deadline, Farhan called. His voice was no longer arrogant. It was hollow. "Please," he said quietly. "Withdraw the case." "For what reason?" I asked. "I will apologize." "Apologies don't rebuild broken respect." "I will change." Change doesn't come from fear. It comes from awareness. Silence. Then softly, "I have nowhere to go." For a brief moment, compassion stirred. Then I remembered the years of disrespect. "You should have thought of that when you treated this house like a throne." The final day arrived. And with it consequences. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not because of the air conditioning, but because of the weight of what was about to unfold. People often imagine justice as loud, dramatic, and immediate. But in reality, justice walks slowly, carrying heavy consequences with silent steps. As I sat on the wooden bench, my hands folded tightly in my lap, I felt every eye on me. Relatives. Neighbors. Strangers. All watching. All judging. Some pitied me. Some blamed me. Some quietly admired me. But none of them truly understood the cost of this moment. My daughter sat beside me, her face pale but composed. Her fingers trembled slightly, betraying the fear she was trying so hard to hide. Across the room, Farhan sat rigidly, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning with resentment and desperation. This wasn't just about property anymore. It was about truth. When the judge entered, silence fell. The clerk read the case. A legal eviction notice filed by a mother against her daughter and son-in-law. The words sounded harsh. Cold. Unforgiving. But behind those words lay years of emotional erosion. Farhan's lawyer spoke first. He painted a picture of a cruel mother, obsessed with control, heartless toward her own child. "She is breaking her daughter's home," he argued. "She is destroying a marriage." The judge turned to me. "Would you like to respond?" I stood slowly. Every muscle in my body trembled. But my voice didn't. "For years," I said softly, "I confused sacrifice with duty. I believed silence meant love. I believed endurance meant strength. But all it did was erase me." The room was still. I gave them shelter, support, and security. In return, I was stripped of dignity in my own home. I was ordered into my bedroom like a servant. And when it happened, my daughter said nothing. My daughter lowered her head. My home became a place where I no longer belonged. Tears blurred my vision. I am not seeking revenge. I am seeking respect. The judge listened quietly. Then came the financial records. Loan documents. Debt statements. Hidden agreements. The truth unfolded like a slow-burning fire. Farhan had concealed massive debt. Used my property as a safety net. Pressured my daughter into silence. Controlled her finances. restricted her independence. The courtroom murmured. For the first time, sympathy shifted. Farhan stood abruptly. "This is exaggerated," he snapped. "Every man has financial struggles." "Yes," the judge replied calmly. "But not every man hides them behind emotional control." That single sentence crushed his defense. When the verdict was announced, time seemed to pause. The property legally belongs to the plaintiff. The defendants are ordered to vacate within 15 days. 15 days. Not 30. A final blow. Outside the courtroom, chaos erupted. Relatives surrounded us. Some scolded. Some pleaded. Some accused. My daughter stood beside me, shaking. "I can't go back," she whispered. "You won't," I said firmly. That moment marked her first act of true courage. The days that followed were emotionally exhausting. We searched for a small apartment. We planned finances. We rebuilt routines. For the first time, my daughter learned to make decisions. To budget. To cook. To manage life. And in doing so, she discovered her own strength. Farhan, meanwhile, spiraled. His reputation suffered. His financial instability became public. His pride shattered. And for a man who lived on control, this loss was unbearable. One evening, he showed up unannounced. Drunk. Broken. Crying. "Please," he sobbed. "Give me one more chance." My daughter trembled. I stepped between them. "No." One word. Firm. Final. That night, my daughter cried in my arms. Not for him. For herself. For the years she had lost. For the voice she had buried. For the woman she was becoming. Sometimes, healing begins with devastation. And devastation often comes disguised as justice. The first night in our new apartment was unbearably quiet. No arguments. No shouting. No tension vibrating through the walls. Just silence. My daughter sat on the edge of the mattress, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling. "I don't know how to live like this," she whispered. I sat beside her. "You will learn," I said gently. "One day at a time." Freedom feels strange when fear has been your lifelong companion. Every small decision felt overwhelming. What to cook? What to buy? When to sleep? Where to go? She asked permission for everything. Slowly, I reminded her, "You don't need permission anymore." The healing process was slow. Some days she was hopeful. Other days she collapsed under guilt and doubt. "What if I destroyed my marriage?" she asked once, tears falling. "No," I replied. "You survived it." Financial independence became our first challenge. We cut expenses. We downsized. We planned carefully. For the first time, my daughter learned budgeting. She opened her own bank account. Her own savings. Her own life. She enrolled in short professional courses. Learned computer skills. Updated her resume. And one day, she walked into an interview alone. When she returned, her eyes sparkled. "They hired me," she whispered in disbelief. We hugged tightly. Her first salary wasn't large. But it meant freedom. The psychological healing took longer. Nightmares. Sudden panic. Self-doubt. I often found her sitting in silence, lost in thought. "Scars don't disappear quickly," I told her. "But they do fade." Meanwhile, society continued to judge. Relatives whispered. Neighbors speculated. Friends distanced. Divorce, separation, independence, these words made people uncomfortable. But my daughter was learning an important lesson. Peace is louder than gossip. One evening, she said something that stayed with me. "Mom, I didn't know I could breathe this freely." That sentence alone was worth everything. Months passed. Slowly, laughter returned. We decorated the small apartment. We planted flowers on the balcony. We cooked together. We lived. And I, too, discovered myself. Not just as a mother, but as a woman. Yet life wasn't finished testing us. One unexpected event was about to challenge everything we had built. Life finally felt steady. Not perfect, but peaceful. And sometimes, peace is the greatest luxury. Then one afternoon, the doorbell rang. My daughter froze. Her hand trembled in mid-air. "I know that knock," she whispered. Slow. Heavy. Confident. The sound of someone who believed the world still belonged to him. Her past had returned. Standing at the door was Derek. Thinner. Tired. But still carrying the same arrogance in his eyes. "I need to talk," he said. My daughter swallowed hard. "I have nothing to say to you." But he stepped forward. "You owe me a conversation." I stepped between them. "She owes you nothing." He laughed bitterly. "You turned her against me." "No," I replied calmly. "You showed her who you were." Derek's life had fallen apart. His job gone. His investments destroyed. His friends vanished. And now, his pride was shattered. He came not to apologize, but to reclaim control. "I can change," he said. "I'll do better." My daughter stared at him. For a moment, I feared she might soften. But then she straightened her back. "No," she said firmly. "You had years to change." He grew angry. "You think you're better without me? You'll come crawling back." She didn't flinch. "I already left that life. I'm not returning." His face darkened. "This isn't over." And just like that, he walked away, leaving behind a chilling silence. That night, my daughter didn't sleep. Memories flooded back. Fear resurfaced. Trauma whispered old lies. "You're weak. You need him. You can't survive alone." But something inside her had changed. She stood in front of the mirror and spoke aloud. "I am safe. I am strong. I am free." The next morning, she filed the final divorce papers. No hesitation. No fear. Only clarity. Weeks later, she stood in a courtroom. Hands shaking. Heart pounding. But her voice remained steady. "I choose myself." The judge finalized the separation. And with one signature, her past was officially buried. We walked out into the sunlight. She exhaled deeply. "It's finally over." I smiled. "No," I said softly. "It's finally beginning." But destiny had one more lesson waiting. The phone rang at 2:17 a.m. Not a gentle ring. A violent vibration against the silence. My heart knew before my mind did something was wrong. "Mama." My daughter's voice cracked. "He's here." I sat straight up in bed. "Where?" "Outside my apartment." "He's been knocking for 20 minutes. I turned off the lights." "I'm hiding in the bathroom." Her breathing was ragged. Panic soaked every word. I was already pulling on my coat. "Call the police," I said. I did. "They're on the way." "Stay where you are. Lock everything." The drive felt endless. Every red light was torture. Every second felt stolen. When I arrived, police lights painted the walls in red and blue. Derek stood handcuffed. Shouting. Blaming. Crying. Begging. All at once. "She ruined my life," he screamed. "No," I whispered. "You destroyed your own." My daughter collapsed into my arms. Her body shook like a leaf in a storm. "I was so scared, Mama." "I know," I whispered, holding her tightly. But you are not alone. That night, she stayed with me. Wrapped in blankets. Drinking warm tea. Her eyes never fully closing. Trauma leaves fingerprints. Even when the danger is gone. The next morning, she whispered. What if he comes back? He won't, I said gently. And if he tries, we will stop him. We filed a restraining order. Changed locks. Installed security cameras. Built walls of safety. But the real healing had to happen inside. My daughter started therapy. Slowly. Painfully. She unpacked years of emotional wounds. Control. Fear. Isolation. Self-blame. One day she said. I thought love meant enduring pain. I held her hand. Love means never having to shrink. Weeks passed. Her shoulders relaxed. Her smile returned. Her laughter hesitant at first, then louder. Freer. Real. Then something unexpected happened. She started helping others. Women trapped. Women afraid. Women silent. She listened. She encouraged. She guided. Her pain became her purpose. One evening, she said. I want to volunteer at the shelter. I smiled. You already are one for your own heart. And then life offered her something new. A chance. Not romance. Not escape. But self-discovery. She enrolled in evening classes. Learned finance. Self-defense. Public speaking. Skills Derek once mocked. Each class built her confidence. Each step built her identity. One night, she looked at me and said. I don't feel broken anymore. I felt tears rise. You were never broken. You were just buried. But just when life began to feel safe, destiny prepared its final test. It was raining. Not softly. Not gently. But violently, as if the sky itself was breaking apart. The phone rang at 11:43 p.m. This time, I answered before the first ring ended. Mama. I think I'm dying. Her voice was weak. Fading. Barely there. I screamed her name and grabbed my keys. No. 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 Stay awake. Talk to me. I can't breathe, my chest hurts. My world collapsed into a tunnel. Nothing existed but reaching her. When I arrived, her apartment door was unlocked. The lights were on. The room smelled like gas. She was lying on the floor. Unconscious. Her lips blue. Her skin ice cold. I dragged her outside. My knees screamed. My lungs burned. My heart thundered. Breathe, baby. Please breathe. The ambulance arrived in minutes that felt like centuries. They rushed her inside. Oxygen. Defibrillator. Emergency sirens. In the hospital hallway, I dropped to my knees. I prayed like I never had before. Hours passed. Doctors whispered. Machines beeped. Time stopped. Finally, a doctor approached. Your daughter survived acute gas inhalation. Another 5 minutes and... He didn't finish the sentence. Relief shattered me. I cried like a child. When she woke, her eyes searched for me. I was already there. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? I asked. For being weak. I shook my head. You survived hell. That's not weakness. They said a gas leak caused the poisoning. Old building. Faulty valve. But fear lingered. Because we both knew trauma weakens the body before it attacks the soul. After her release, she moved back in with me. Not as a dependent. But as a survivor rebuilding strength. We cooked together. Walked every morning. Laughed again. Slowly. Carefully. One afternoon, she looked at me and said. I'm alive because you refused to give up on me. No, I replied. You're alive because you chose to live. That night, I wrote something in my notebook. Survival is rebellion against despair. Months later, she stood on a stage, telling her story. Her voice steady. Her posture strong. Her eyes fearless. People listened. Cried. Healed. Her pain became a bridge for others to cross. But just when peace finally settled, life delivered its final reckoning. The rain was falling slowly, like the sky itself was mourning. Every drop that touched the ground felt like a tear escaping from the eyes of the universe. The clouds were dark, heavy, burdened with secrets, just like the hearts of those who were about to face the truth. After years of silence, misunderstandings, betrayal, and suffering, destiny had finally decided today, everything would be revealed. Ayan stood outside the hospital, his clothes soaked, his heart trembling. Inside that building lay two people, one fighting for life, and one fighting against guilt. Zoya. And his mother. For years, Ayan had believed Zoya betrayed him. For years, he had carried the weight of anger, hate, and heartbreak. He rebuilt himself from ashes, turned his pain into power, and became a man no one dared to challenge. But deep inside, the wound never healed. It only learned how to hide. Today, those hidden wounds were about to be torn open again. The emergency call. It had started with a single phone call. At midnight. An unknown number. A trembling voice. Ayan Sahib. Zoya madam, she's in critical condition. She collapsed outside the hospital. She kept repeating your name. Those words shattered his world. For a moment, Ayan couldn't breathe. Zoya, unconscious? Repeating his name? Why now? Why after so many years? He rushed to the hospital, his heart racing faster than his car. Every red light felt like a curse. Every second felt like torture. The hospital corridor. The corridor smelled of antiseptic and despair. Doctors moved quickly. Nurses whispered. Machines beeped rhythmically, the sound of fragile life. Ayan stood outside the ICU, fists clenched, chest burning. Then he saw her. Zoya's mother sat on a bench, her face pale, eyes swollen from crying. She looked older. Weaker. Broken. When she saw Ayan, she slowly stood up. Her lips trembled. Beta. That single word carried years of guilt. Ayan turned his face away. I'm not your beta anymore. Her eyes filled with tears. You still came. I came for Zoya. Not for her forgiveness. She nodded slowly. That's enough. Silence hung between them, heavy, painful, unbearable. Finally, she spoke. It's time you know the truth. Ayan froze. What truth? The secret that changed everything. She took a deep breath, as if preparing herself for death. Zoya never betrayed you. Ayan laughed bitterly. I saw everything with my own eyes. No. You saw what we wanted you to see. His heart skipped. What do you mean? Tears streamed down her face. I forced her. Ayan turned sharply. What? I threatened her. I manipulated her. I destroyed your love, to save my daughter's life. His world tilted. Speak clearly. She wiped her tears. Zoya was diagnosed with a rare heart condition. She needed immediate surgery abroad. The cost was beyond anything we could afford. Ayan's breath caught. Why didn't she tell me? Because I didn't let her. Her voice cracked. I knew if she told you, you would sell everything to save her. You would sacrifice your future. And I couldn't allow that. Ayan's hands began to shake. So you broke us? Yes. She nodded in shame. I contacted your enemy. I staged the fake relationship. I made Zoya act cold. I forced her to leave you, to humiliate you, to crush your heart, so you would hate her and move on. Ayan staggered back, as if struck. All these years, she lived with unbearable pain. She watched you suffer. But she kept silent, because I begged her. His throat burned. Why tell me now? She looked toward the ICU. She doesn't have much time. Those words pierced his soul. Zoya's confession. Inside the ICU, Zoya lay pale, fragile, surrounded by machines. Her breathing was shallow. Her heartbeat weak. Ayan walked toward her slowly, every step heavy. He sat beside her bed. For a long moment, he just watched her. The woman who once filled his world with light now looked like she could disappear any second. Tears rolled down his face silently. Her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, she opened her eyes. When she saw him, her lips trembled. Ayan. He held her hand tightly. I'm here. She cried softly. I thought I would die without seeing you. Don't say that. She looked at him with pain-filled eyes. I'm sorry. For what? For breaking you. His grip tightened. Why didn't you tell me the truth? Tears flowed endlessly. Because I was weak. I chose your future over our love. He leaned closer. You chose wrong. She sobbed. I loved you too much, that's why I destroyed us. Those words crushed his heart. The moment of regret. Years of misunderstanding collapsed in minutes. Every memory replayed in Ayan's mind, her tears, her silence, her coldness. All lies. All sacrifice. He buried his face in her hands. I hated you. I know. I cursed you. I deserved it. I destroyed myself because of you. She cried harder. I destroyed myself for you. Silence filled the room. Two broken souls finally standing face to face. I would have saved you, he whispered. I know. Even if it cost me everything. I know. Then she smiled faintly. That's why I didn't let you. His chest tightened. You were my strength. I couldn't let you become my victim. A love that never died. Outside, the rain intensified. Inside, emotions overflowed. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. Neither did I. They stared at each other, hearts bare. Years of pain melted in moments. But destiny wasn't done yet. A machine suddenly beeped loudly. Nurses rushed in. Doctors followed. Her heart rate is dropping. Ayan stood in panic. Save her. Doctors pushed him outside. He collapsed onto the floor. For the first time, the powerful Ayan cried like a helpless child. Please God, take everything I have, just save her. The longest hour. Time stopped. Minutes felt like centuries. Every second cut like a blade. Finally, the ICU door opened. The doctor walked out. Ayan jumped to his feet. How is she? The doctor sighed. We stabilized her. But her condition is extremely critical. Without surgery, she won't survive long. Then operate. We need immediate arrangements abroad. It's risky, expensive, and time-sensitive. I don't care about money. Prepare everything. His eyes burned with determination. She will live. A promise under the rain. Later that night, Ayan stood outside the hospital. The rain soaked him completely. But he didn't move. He looked toward the sky. I lost years because of lies. I won't lose her because of fear. He closed his eyes. I promise, this time, love will win. The airport was drowning in silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that screams fear, hope, and desperation at the same time. Outside the glass walls, the city lights flickered like fragile stars, uncertain, trembling, just like Ayan's heart. Inside a medical stretcher, Zoya lay unconscious, oxygen mask on her face, surrounded by doctors and nurses preparing her for the longest journey of her life. Ayan walked beside her, refusing to let go of her hand. Every step felt like a prayer. Every breath felt like a gamble. This was their final battle. Against fate. Against time. Against death. The journey of hope. The plane took off slowly, cutting through the dark clouds. Ayan stared out of the window. Years ago, he had boarded planes for success, ambition, power. Today, he was flying only for love. Inside the medical cabin, machines beeped steadily. Each beep was a reminder she was still alive. He whispered softly, "Please stay with me, just a little longer." Tears rolled down his cheeks, but his grip never weakened. He had once lost her to lies. He refused to lose her now to destiny. The surgery. Germany. One of the best heart specialist hospitals in the world. The moment they landed, Zoya was rushed into emergency surgery. The doctor looked straight into Ayan's eyes. "This is a high-risk operation. We will do our best. But the next few hours will decide everything." Ayan nodded silently. He watched as the operation theater doors closed. And just like that, his entire universe disappeared behind two white panels. The waiting room of destiny. Hours passed. No news. No updates. Just ticking clocks and suffocating silence. Ayan sat alone, staring at the floor. Every memory played in his mind. Their first meeting. Their fights. Their laughter. Their separation. Their pain. He clenched his fists. "If you survive, I swear I'll spend every breath making you happy." The miracle. After 6 endless hours, the doors opened. The surgeon walked out. Ayan stood instantly. The doctor removed his mask. Then smiled. The surgery was successful. Ayan's knees weakened. His world exploded in relief. Tears poured freely as he bowed his head. Thank you, thank you. She is stable. But recovery will take time. I'll wait a lifetime." The awakening. 3 days later. Morning sunlight entered softly through the hospital window. Zoya slowly opened her eyes. For a moment, she felt lost. Then she saw him. Sleeping beside her bed. His hand holding hers. Tears filled her eyes. "Ayan." He stirred. Then looked up. Their eyes locked. And time froze. "You're awake," he whispered. She smiled weakly. "I'm still here." He laughed through tears. "Yes, you're still here." The healing of two souls. Days turned into weeks. Zoya recovered slowly. Ayan never left her side. He fed her. Read to her. Talked to her. Held her when she cried. They rebuilt themselves, piece by piece. One evening, sitting by the window, Zoya whispered, "Do you think we can start again?" Ayan looked into her eyes. "Not again." She frowned. "What? We never ended." She smiled, tears falling. "The promise." On a quiet night, under the open sky, Ayan knelt before her. Not with a ring. Not with flowers. But with a promise. "I lost you once. I won't lose you again. Will you walk with me, till our last breath?" She placed her trembling hand in his. "Always." Years later. A peaceful home. Laughter echoed in the air. Children running. Zoya standing in the kitchen. Ayan watching her, smiling. Life wasn't perfect. But it was real. It was full. It was theirs. Final words. Some love stories end in separation. Some in tragedy. But the rarest ones end in redemption. Because real love doesn't give up. It waits. It forgives. It survives. And when it returns stronger than ever.